Okay. Welcome
Hello.
to Comfy Cove Podcast, episode 3.
Yay.
I don't know how long it has been.
Yeah, how long has it been since our last podcast episode?
I don't want to look.
Yeah,
I just
that's okay.
know it's been a while, at
It's
least
been
a
a
year.
while. Yeah, definitely more than a year, I think.
Yeah. What were we saying before we started recording? You said something like, once we hit episode 7, we've officially made it as a podcast or something.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know, there's some kind of statistic that says, so we're like almost halfway, or a little over halfway there, because we have like episodes like 2.5 and stuff like that. But I think there's like some statistic that says like once you've reached episode 7, like you're likely to continue your podcast. But I don't know, we kind of don't play
like,
by normal rules, right?
Count? Does it still count though if they're 1 year apart, or maybe even 2?
No, I think that I think the fact that this podcast is continuing at all means that, we're on our way to I mean, we're already a legit podcast. We're just reaching the statistically. It'll just take us a couple years, right?
Yeah, but I think at this point we've done like a podcast for almost every season, right? We did like winter, spring.
Yeah, we started.
Oh, summer.
Did we start with winter?
We haven't done summer.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't done summer yet. We kind of skipped summer. We'll be back with summer hopefully next year.
I mean, I don't know. We're always busy during the summer. I feel like summer is our busiest season usually. So I don't know. Yeah. Maybe 10 years down the line, we'll get a summer podcast.
Yeah, like we still haven't made our secret base cover, which is like a summer song. Which, that probably isn't.
Oh my god! I think secret base is like something we've been like planning since like we established this like duo, this nostalgia duo tonight. Like,
yes, definitely.
I don't know, 2018.
One of our best duets. Our best duets when we're karaoke together, definitely.
True. That was a go-to. It's just really long and repetitive. Yeah. So this is a fall podcast.
Yes.
And we wanted to post it like in October, like before Halloween.
But of course, stuff kept happening.
We kept getting sick. We both got sick.
Yeah, first you got sick.
After the other.
Yeah, and then I got sick. And I think you got sick again.
I think I got
and we were
sick
just
like
gonna
3
do it.
times.
Yeah, we were just gonna record it with sick voices, but then we just were like, no, we don't have the energy to do it, and other stuff also came up. So, life.
Yeah, I've just been dealing with a lot of kids. Just been working with a lot of kids, and kids, they're a host for many types of sicknesses and viruses. So.
Especially when they like cough in your face. Like
they cough in your face, they sneeze in your face, whatever fluid that comes out of their faces.
And then they smile at you after they do it.
Little devils. Little rascals. Oh man. Oh god.
Yes. But anyway, welcome to our fall episode, even though it's probably winter when we're releasing it, but such is how we do things. So thanks for bearing with us,
smokes.
Guys.
I just realized something.
What?
I'm like looking at the waves on my Audacity and it's peaking. I'm so loud.
Oops. I'll turn that down in post-production.
Hopefully we can. Hopefully it works. Anyway, fall podcast, so fall themes, fall theme talking topics. we have
Food.
yes, fall food.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to the people in the States. Hope you ate yummy food. And apologies to all the turkeys.
Sorry, turkey, but you're too yummy.
Yeah.
So the food that we chose, I don't remember how we chose these two.
I think seasonally. Seasonal foods.
True. Fall seasonal foods.
Especially in Japan.
I chose. Yep. Probably only in Japan, maybe. It's like a staple.
Oh, that's true.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Or other Asian countries. But they're chestnuts and persimmons.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if we could eat wild ones. If like wild chestnut and persimmons are edible, because like in Japan, at least we often see them just growing in the wild. Like there's even like a couple trees in my neighborhood, and I'm like in the city, so
yeah, there is like
get free
free food, free food on the trees
nuts.
And on the ground.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about these things?
So first I will talk about the chestnuts and if wild ones are edible or inedible. I feel like the word like edible and inedible is like, you know, in the Finding Nemo when the girl has trouble saying anemone. Anemone. Yeah. For starters, for people who don't know what chestnuts are, they're these like balls of spiky things that grows on trees. And if you crack it open, there's like nuts inside it. I don't know how to explain the shape. Kind of looks like
an upside down heart.
Is it a heart? I don't know.
Well, not exactly,
like
but
when
okay, it looks like
when you ask
like
someone to draw poop.
Well, wait, spades are kind of upside down hearts.
Yeah, it's kind of like a squished spade.
Yeah.
The nuts.
We squished them very, very close together. Yeah.
Yeah. We call them kuri in Japan. And here we often eat them raw, roasted, or steamed. And you often see them used in New Year's cuisine, like kuri kinton, which is like sweet chestnut paste, and kuri gohan, which is rice cooked with chestnuts.
Sometimes they're called marron too, right? But I think marron is French.
Yeah, in like pastries or like baked goods. Yeah, I do hear them called marron, like ice cream, marron ice cream.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard that, I thought someone was saying melon, and I was getting like super confused. And so I was like, "Oh, marron." Like a R. Okay. Yes. Anyway, what else have you learned about those, right?
So yeah, I was just gonna talk about how chestnuts are eaten in the West. Just based on simple Googling, I learned that they're also eaten like roasted and dried, like it is in Japan, and in pastries. But in places like France, they're eaten like candied, or used in bread pasta, and as a thickener for soup, in the form of flour. So like flour made of chestnuts, like how some places use acorns to make flour. I wonder what it tastes like. I don't know. I also asked my family friend who's from China how they use chestnuts in their cooking, and he said that they use it in stew along with either duck or chicken and mushrooms.
Yeah,
and he's
classic
from
Chinese cooking.
the southeastern region of China.
Yum.
I was very surprised. Like, I didn't know like chestnuts could go well in soup.
I feel like it's like very common for Chinese cooking, like to just be like, yeah, just throw it in there, make something medicinal.
Throw it all in.
Yeah, it's like, what do we got? Okay, throw it in the soup. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I cook at home anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Makes sense. But yes, to answer the main question, are wild chestnuts edible? Yes. All types of chestnuts are edible. The common types are the American, Chinese, Japanese, and European chestnuts. And in Europe, they're also known as sweet chestnut or Spanish chestnuts. But there are these types of nuts called horse chestnut. But they're not actually chestnuts. They're like a whole different like genus. And they're poisonous. So
and do horses
don't
eat
those.
them?
I don't remember. I don't remember honestly. I do remember readings about it, but my goldfish brain said nope. They look like weird green spiky One Piece devil fruits. If you know One Piece. They just look strange. You kind of look at them and yeah, they look poisonous. They don't look right.
Yeah, I think when you're telling me like how can you tell between the two, I think you're saying like just crack it open and see if it looks like symmetrical, and if it doesn't, then don't eat it or like don't try to cook it.
Really? I think it's just like the outer appearance. It doesn't look like a chestnut at all.
Oh.
It doesn't have like the chestnut types of like spikes. It's hard to explain on a podcast. It's easier if I show like the image, but people can Google it. Horse chestnut. Yeah. So don't eat those, but yes, chestnuts, wild chestnuts are edible. Yay! Can pick them off the street.
Yeah. I'll roast some chestnuts by the fire. Christmas is coming.
Yes. Aren't they already in season? I've already seen a lot of chestnut stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm just referencing the chestnuts roasting on an open fire song.
The next fruit is persimmons. I don't know why, but I keep pronouncing it persimmons. I don't know why. It's probably because I just don't know English very well. But anyway, I don't know how familiar people in the West are with like persimmons.
Oh yeah, I feel like
I don't know how often they see them.
I feel like if you're not, I feel like only, or not only, but usually Asian households like get persimmons from like the Asian supermarket and stuff. So you're more likely.
Oh really? Not even in like the normal big supermarkets?
No, I don't know. They don't. I've never seen regular supermarkets carry them. So like, I mean, it's possible that maybe farmers markets might have them, but generally, at least in the States, if you want to get persimmons, you usually have to go to like the Asian supermarket and be like, oh, persimmons. Or you have to have a persimmon tree.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen any either whenever I went into the States.
Yeah. Go try a persimmon if you haven't had one.
Yeah. There's an interesting fact about that later, towards the end. But anyway, for people who are unfamiliar with the fruit, it's like this round orange or reddish orange fruit. And it doesn't like have like the It's like a what?
Well, it kind of looks like a tomato, but like a more orange, like a very orange squished tomato, kind of.
Yeah. And it
The big
has like a
one.
really cute leaf,
Hmm.
like a flower shaped leaf on the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has a distinct design. Nothing. How do you say it?
Shape.
Distinct
Shape?
look. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say like
You
if
gotta
a
see it.
pumpkin and a tomato were like crossed together, kind of, except not really like a pumpkin, but just that kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, kind
right?
of like
Like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like pumpkin, but like it's like a hand size,
Hmm.
and the texture is more like tomato. Um,
Depending on how
on the
ripe it is.
outside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's true. There are like hard ones that you can still eat.
Yeah.
Um, but they're just like really sweet, and it doesn't have like the acidic flavor that a lot of fruits have. It's like a really mellow flavor.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very yummy. We call it kaki in Japan, and we usually eat them just raw as is, like with
Hmm.
peeled skin, and or dried. I haven't really had those in a while, but they like would sell dried persimmons at the grocery store, or if you go into the countryside, you'll see a lot of grandmas just like hanging them in their garage.
Yeah, because there's
It's very
certain ones
yummy.
that like crystallize, but it depends on the type, right, Rin?
Really? Crystallize? What do you mean by crystallize?
Yeah, so like shibugaki, I think is the ones that crystallize. So there's a couple different kinds. I'm not sure. I don't know. The ones that I know of are two, like the ones that you usually just eat raw, and then there's like the ones that they look almost like turnips. Like they have kind of like a fat carrot shape.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
those ones.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't you usually can't eat those raw, I think. I think those are the ones that you I think what they do, I'm not positive, but I think what they do is they like peel the skin off and then they hang them and then over time like it starts to dry it and then when it's drying it like the outside becomes white because it's crystallizing all of the things and then that's what becomes the dried ones that you see later in the store. I think.
Mm, yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna try to do that someday. Just try
Yeah.
some of that. I think I know the one you're talking about. I think it's the red hachiya, which I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
talk about a
Okay.
bit later. The small, it's like smaller than the average persimmon or the usual ones we see in the grocery store. It has a
Mhm.
distinct shape. But yeah, what did I say before? Yeah, oh yeah, we just eat them. We eat them raw or dried. Um, and we call it hoshigaki, right? The dried ones.
Yeah, what's the difference between hoshigaki and shibugaki? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Alright, maybe they're the same. I have no clue. I didn't look into that part. But anyway, um, yeah, I think those are the only ways I've seen them eaten, just raw or dry
Oh, I have another way to eat one.
in Japan.
Yeah, well, it's still like the raw way, but like so when persimmons
Mm-hmm.
like so there's kind of like different stages of um ripeness to persimmons, right? So like when it's not quite ripe yet, it like has like a kind of like a harder texture, like almost like an apple, where you can like actually like have like when you bite into it, it almost has like that crunch. But like as it gets riper and riper, it gets softer and softer, right? So like sometimes you'll see like really cheap persimmons on sale that are like super duper ripe, like they're like squishy, like a super ripe tomato where like if you know you could just like squish it and it'll like splat in your hand or whatever. But so those ones, the best way to eat them is just like cut them in half and then use a spoon and just scoop out the inside. So they're the same kind, but it's just like at which stage are you eating the kaki?
Yum. It's kind of like jelly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When it's ripe, it has that sort of jelly texture.
Yeah.
I like it.
So interesting, right? The same
Very
fruit could
yum.
have so many textures.
Yeah, I like eating persimmons at any stage of its ripeness, whether it's like firm or like jello-y or like in between.
Mm-hmm.
It's all yummy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ditto.
But yeah, other ways they are eaten or used. During my research, I found that in Korea, they use it to make wine, persimmon wine. That sounds so good. I gotta try that when I visit. In Southeast Asia, they eat it with salad, stewed, or fried.
Ooh, fried sounds yummy.
Yeah, I've never thought of fried persimmon.
Yeah, like,
I think the flavor will fit.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. In the West, they eat it like us, like raw, or they use it to make steamed pudding, like steamed persimmon pudding.
Ooh.
Sounds so good. And baked goods. And persimmon beer. Yum. Iris is probably going like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't drink, so.
You don't like beer?
Yeah, taste of alcohol, not for me. Ew.
I love all these people trying to like turn into alcoholic beverages.
Turn anything alcoholic.
I like the taste of alcohol. Unless it tastes like, I actually don't like vodka. I don't like the taste of, there's like different types of chemical taste, and I don't like the vodka one. Wait,
then do you like shochu?
I do like shochu, which has that similar like disinfectant type of taste to like vodka. But I don't know, shochu has that like distinct sweetness. So shochu is an exception for me.
Have you had awamori before? It's like Okinawa. Awamori. It's like Okinawa's version of shochu. So I'm not sure if they like put. No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not positive, like, but I think maybe they might put like the like the black sugar in it, and maybe that's what makes it awamori. But like, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure why it's so different from regular shochu.
That sounds good though, black sugar shochu.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next time you're in Okinawa.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I like interesting ones like that.
Yeah.
Like, that has its like own special unique flavor based on like where it came from or something.
Yeah. Local unique.
Yeah.
Oh.
What else? Yeah. When I was researching how like they eat persimmons in the West, I saw like a lot of videos of people eating the persimmon with the skin, like just biting into it like an apple, and I was like, huh? Like,
oh yeah, we do that here.
This is a new territory. I'm like, what? Like, I've never ever eaten it with the skin before. Like, we don't do that here. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I feel like in Japan, like, they peel all their fruits. Like, they peel their grapes, they peel their apples, and I'm just kind of like, but I mean, the grapes, it kind of makes sense because it does like have that like tanniny flavor. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder, like, what do you know why that is, Rhian? Like, does it have to do with like pesticides, or like what's with all the fruit peeling?
I think, like in Japan, yeah, it is like pesticides too, but I think the skin on our fruits are like thicker. And it has like, yeah, a bit of that distinct taste compared to like fruits in the US. Like US fruits, they're so like watery and like thin. I don't know if it's because they're like mass produced or something. But like, yeah, the ones in Japan, I think the skins are thicker. Like for grapes, the skins are like definitely thicker. The grapes are bigger. And yeah, it has that like tannin flavor to it. So we would like usually peel it before we eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, when you were talking earlier about like how persimmons are cooked, I was thinking like, ooh, persimmon pie sounds really good. You should make a persimmon pie.
It would go great with pie or in pie.
Yeah.
It's just sweet. Maybe with some lemon or something.
Yeah.
For a little kick.
Yeah, I gotta make that.
Yum. Ooh, maybe we can try and make that together.
Okay. Sounds good.
Next year.
Experimental kitchen.
Yeah. I feel like we're always experimental in the kitchen.
This is true. Maybe we'll have like
just mix everything.
Yeah, like a comfy Cove cooking edition.
Yeah.
Little corner.
Yeah. Definitely could have that segment.
Yeah.
But yes, main question. To answer the main question, can we eat wild persimmons? Yes, there are no poisonous types. According to my brief research, so don't quote me on it. Yeah, so like when Iris was talking about that radish-shaped persimmon earlier, the one we use to just like dry and crystallize and eat, I think those might be the red hachiya persimmons, and people say they're not edible when they're not ripe because of the amount of tannin, like the presence of tannin in it, kind of like how grapes have it. But they can be eaten once they're ripe, and apparently there were some like what do you call it, not a stigma but like a misunderstanding. There was a word for it, I forgot. People thought like they're poisonous when they're unripe. Because like if there's too much tannin, it causes digestive issues.
Yeah, makes sense.
But that doesn't make it poisonous. So yeah, you can eat all persimmons, wild or not.
Yay, persimmons.
Yay.
Go try a persimmon if you haven't had one before. Go down to your Asian market and ask for a persimmon.
Oh yeah, my interesting fact about persimmons in America. So what I learned is that there's a species of persimmon that's native to Texas, and its literal name is Texas persimmon.
Ooh.
I was kind of surprised because I've lived in Texas and I've never seen a single persimmon in the grocery store. So I was like, what?
You should ask my brother to hunt one down. Go find a Texas persimmon. He's gonna give me like, huh?
Very yummy. The other types of persimmons are Oriental persimmon. These are the ones that are mainly found in like Japan, Korea, China, in Southwest Asia, in Southeast Europe. They have a species of persimmon called date plum. And in the east of the United States, they have the species called American persimmon. and there's one called velvet persimmon.
Ooh.
That's native to Taiwan, Philippines, and Borneo. I don't know where that country is. Somewhere in Asia.
I think Borneo is like south of Malaysia, or south of. So there's 2 islands that make up Malaysia, and one of those islands is called Sarawak, and like that island is like split in half. And so I think Borneo is like the under half part of that island, or somewhere around there, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, they have the velvet persimmon.
Sounds yummy. Yeah, persimmons kind of have that image of like kind of velvety, like some the taste, not the taste, but like I don't know. I feel like the velvet matches well with like a persimmon.
I think when they're dried, like they start to develop that more velvety color.
Yeah.
Or like maroon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, that was our fall food segment.
Cool. Thanks, Rhian. Oh, since we're talking about food, do you have any? We can just throw in a quick, comfy Cove cooking corner. Anything that you recommend making during the fall/winter?
During the fall/winter?
Yeah. Or what do you like to cook?
I think like in Japan, at least the last couple of years, the temperature drop was so sudden. So like it felt like we barely had any fall, and it was like straight to winter. So I've been making a lot of like hot soup with like a lot of vegetables and like fish cakes.
How do you start?
Asian.
Yeah. How do you start your soup base?
My soup base, I just simply like start steaming like vegetables. Steam/boil like vegetables or any like root vegetables. Yeah, and then I add like the usual dashi. What is it called in English? Broth? Fish broth?
Yeah, fish stock. Powdered fish stock.
Fish broth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I add that and just like flavoring with like other things like mirin, shoyu, sake, things like that. Pretty simple. Yeah. And then just throw in like the fish cakes, which is probably very weird to like Western people who are not used to it.
Yeah, that's okay. Always good to try new things. Head to the Asian supermarket. Cut up some fish steaks and throw them into your soup and see if you like it.
Yeah, there's many types of fish cake. But anyway, how about you?
I think in the more recent times, especially last time you were over, we made I like cream stew most, but we made like big pot of like curry, I think. But from that I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a big pot of cream stew. And then like the first time you eat it, you just eat like cream stew with like bread or something. But then the second, like I love that you can just like have that meal for like the whole week, but then just like put variations on it. So like you can use like the stew and like you can take pasta and just like pour some hot water on it and then drain out the water, put the stew on top and then like bake it. So you kind of make like a casserole. You could do that with rice. And so you can just like kind of make variations of the same dish, but it all has like that yummy kind of same like base. So I recommend making cream stews or like whatever kind of stew you like, and then just alternating it, especially if you have an air fry oven. I highly recommend getting an air fry oven. It's life changing.
So multifunctional.
Yeah, the best thing ever. And tiny, so it saves you electricity
do everything.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. It can air fry, it can bake, it can toast, it can what's that word? Where's brew? No, what is it? Like simmer?
Broil? Broil? No.
Yes, broil. Yeah, it can broil, whatever that means.
It just means like cooking on very high heat on top, from the top. Oh, quick thing I learned recently. To cook lobster tail, you basically just like cut them open and like you broil them for, I think if it's like medium lobster tails, like for 10 minutes. And I was like, really? That's all you have to do to cook? That's amazing. Like, wow. But yeah, broiling is just cooking just the top part on like super high heat.
Yum. I used to like visit Maine, the state of Maine, often. Because like we had some family there, and I loved eating lobster with like that like melted butter dip.
Oh yeah,
good.
So good.
Oh my god. Yes. Or like sandwiches, like lobster sandwiches. They're like in like those hot dog buns.
Yeah, lobster rolls.
Yum. Yeah, lobster rolls. Yeah, oh, I miss them. So good.
Yummy seafood's the best. Freshly caught seafood's the best.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay, next topic. Spooky.
Yeah. Okay, so
Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween was a while ago, but I think so when I like thinking about like fall and like spookiness, I wasn't thinking like necessarily like ghosts and like the typical idea of Halloween, but more of like a kind of like more on like the mysterious side of like what like colder times can mean, or like kind of think like more like space or things that we just like don't really know about, right? Like we just don't have an understanding of, so it kind of can seem a little bit kind of spooky or scary to us. I think this kind of came up because I think recently on Netflix there's, I think it's a movie called All the Light We Cannot See. I haven't watched it yet, or we haven't watched it yet because our internet, but it's based off a book. And I remember in the book there's this description, and maybe it was, I kind of can't remember now, but I just remember the main character was, she might have been listening to like an educational program that was talking about space, but it kind of reminded me of like, oh yeah, you know, like radio shows, like there are like kind of random radio, like people making like radio programs, and then they like maybe not so many now, but back in the day, like, or like they can still exist, right? That they like make radio shows, and if you have a radio and you like, you can tune into those kind of random radio shows. And to me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a little bit mysterious and spooky. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if there are any of these that are like archived. And I know this is like super, super indie, kind of like you really have to like deep dive to find like those not super well known things that like probably have existed. So I could only really find just like the old time oldies radio. So the golden age of radio is like known in like 1930 to like 1960s, but there's actually a group that like is trying to preserve these radio things. Okay, there's like a creepy sound in my closet and it's creeping me out. I'm sorry.
I kind of heard it too, a little bit in the back.
You hear that? Okay. I'm just like, wait.
Yeah.
Is that coming from my headphones? Ew, creepy. Okay, we're talking about creepy things. Okay, I'm getting creeped out. I don't know if that came from my headphones or if that was like in my space. Anyway, sorry guys. But yeah, there's this group that's called the Old Time Radio Researchers, and it's just like a community
Wow.
that, yeah, they're trying to kind of preserve like these old time radio shows. But if you go and like listen to these, it does really give you kind of that like feeling of being back in the day. And like when you think about like how did they produce these shows, because we have like so much different technology now, but back in the day everything was so manual. So you're like, oh hey, how did they make this sound to like, I'm sure a lot of people are like familiar with like the Outer Limits and that like woo woo like sound. I just like, yeah, how did they make those? And like sometimes the past can feel really like just kind of unknown. So, but yeah, if you guys know any kind of like indie, not indie, but like olden day, radio, like it's a little bit like, oh, do these exist or still somewhere, or are they like lost to time, or like are there still copies of those things? Because radio is like not really something that you like think to record necessarily, like especially if it's like someone just broadcasting randomly, right? Like I think back in the day we had those, like the recording deck, like the Toy Story toy that had like, I think you could record, maybe, okay, don't quote me on this, I think like maybe it was possible that you could record using something like that. But yeah, just like thinking about like, oh, those kind of spooky-ish, not really well-known things. Have you looked into any of those things, Rhian?
Um, Actually, I haven't like really found like indie radio archives. I don't know if this like website is like run by like the group you were talking about, but there's this website called Old Radio Archives, and I just literally like went to the filter, clicked the oldest date,
Mm-hmm.
which was 1984,
Mm-hmm.
and I just found like a I don't know if it's like a audiobook. Oh, it's like an audio drama
Mm-hmm.
of Secret Agent X9 BBC Radio full
Oh.
cast drama. So yeah, I guess it's like an audio drama. So like yeah, there it was mostly like these story based ones. I also found like in 1985, it was like Doctor Who.
Oh yeah,
Doctor
Doctor
Who
Who.
slipped back. Colin Baker original broadcast weekly schedule on Thursday morning
Wow.
between 9:05 to 12. Like things like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I went down more of like a spooky old radio
Mm-hmm.
rabbit hole, like Reddit.
Oh yeah.
um
Reddit itself is
I
like a
found
whole
like
spooky place too.
yeah, it's a whole rabbit hole on
Mm-hmm.
Reddit. Um Maybe this counts as indie, but I found this one called Payphone Radio where
Uh-huh.
like this dude literally just records himself like talking to someone on a payphone,
Oh really?
and
That's
that's
kind of
it.
interesting.
Yeah. Payphone Radio is recordings from a New York City payphone. The description said something like, in addition to my calls, you will hear sounds of subway buskers, recorded messages that play when attempting to call payphones that have been disconnected. So
Mm.
yeah, kind of like a very, I don't know what you call it, an authentic payphone experience radio. Um, you
Yeah.
can find this on Radio Garden,
Oh.
radio.garden. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So indie, I guess, maybe. I also
Yeah.
found a weird spooky one on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
This one is based in Sweden, and the name is called Spinning Seal FM. And what it does is it literally just like auto repeats like this cute digital instrumental. And people in the Reddit thread have been saying that like suddenly the music would stop and I would hear people like yelling or screaming for help. this was one of the quote. Like, I was listening to it, but it stopped, and some guy saying something like please or legs or help, and he screamed. Then it went back to the song like nothing happened. So I just sat there. I literally just sat there listening to that like spinning seal thing for like an hour. I didn't hear anything. Nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you always wonder too, like, what part of it's like you just freaking yourself out, um, or like people like being trolls and stuff like this too.
Yeah, they're just manifesting it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you want to tell them about that thing you researched with the train thing? And then I think
Oh
we
my
went and like
gosh.
debunked it.
Okay. I don't know if it's like spooky, but it's more like creepy, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more like creepy, disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait, let me find my notes.
Okay.
So this was part of the Hoboken train crash incident in New Jersey, September 29th, 2016. It was a commuter train, and there was this strange phenomenon that happened before the crash. So, on the day before the crash, on the 28th, there was a bizarre like EAS on the TVs, like an emergency alert system. I don't know, how do you describe it? You know, like when you're just watching TV and suddenly you see like a message go by horizontally on the top of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those like emergency alert things. In Japan, it's usually like earthquake alerts or like tsunami alerts. But the day before the Hoboken train crash, there was a weird emergency alert on the TV that said, "Would you? Could you? On a train?" And it's like a Dr. Seuss quote.
Yes, from Green Eggs and Ham.
Iris, you said, yeah, Green Eggs and Ham, Dr. Seuss quote. So, you know, that created like a whole, what do you call it? When people like take these things and like, yes, conspiracy. Created a huge conspiracy, like, oh, this like error message and the train crash must have something, like something must be like connected or something. So I went down the rabbit hole of like researching that whole incident, but like I just found out that it was indeed like a broadcast error. There was no like weird malicious intent, just some like engineer dude testing out the alert system, and it wasn't supposed to be broadcasted or anything, but like I don't know, there was some sort of error and it just leaked onto like the national broadcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, creepy coincidence.
Yeah, the synchronicity of it, I think, is what like creeps people out, right? Because they're just like, what is with that timing? Like, even if it's like wasn't, you know, on purpose or whatever, right?
Yeah, very disturbing. There were more like disturbing like information or like the aftermath, detail of the aftermath and stuff of the train crash. But you know, We don't have to mention it here.
Yeah,
You
let's not
guys
go
can
into
Google
that.
it.
Yeah, we'll get
Just Google
uncomfy a
it.
little later on in this podcast.
Actually, not later on. It's next. That's
Oh
our
yeah, oh
next
yeah.
topic.
That'll be our next topic. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit more about like kind of not like scary, but a little bit more like mysterious things that have happened in life. Like, have you ever
Ooh.
had any, like I guess like kind of a little bit more towards like strange coincidences or like kind of strange things that you're like, I don't know how this happened. It like sometimes it could be cool, like cool things that happen where you're like, I don't know how this happened, but so maybe like more mysterious and not so much scary. Do you have anything like that that's happened in your life before, Rin?
Mysterious coincidences?
Yeah.
Um. Oh yeah, I remember talking about this. Um. It's not like spooky or anything. It's just simply a coincidence where
Mm-hmm.
I where was I living? I was living in Setagaya, um, in Tokyo. No, Shibuya. Never mind. I was living in Shibuya, kind of like central Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
and in my senior year of high school, and I was like, was it? Was it after I graduated? I don't remember. I think it was after I graduated. It was like right before I had to move to the States for college. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do something like spontaneous before I left. Like a little journey. So like one night I just like left the house on my bike and just like rode around aimlessly. And towards the end, I got to this like pretty like riverside town called Futakotamagawa. And then like years later, my family ended up moving there to Futakotamagawa.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, so like I was like, whoa, coincidence? And then I
Hmm.
actually lived with them for a bit. Maybe like for about a year. I lived with them there in Futako Tamagawa, and I was also working there. And one day, it was like a night shift work, so after work, it was like in the morning. I was like super sleepy because it was a night shift. But I was on this like weird high, and I just wanted to like go on a spontaneous adventure again. Actually, I get this weird high very often where I just want to go on some spontaneous adventure. So,
And just so
yeah,
you
so
guys
like
know, in Japan, this is totally okay because it's very safe. But I don't know if this would be a good idea in other places.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't just go walking around
Mm-hmm.
in place in territories you're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an exception in Japan.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, after my night shift, I just like started walking straight. Um, and eventually I came across this town called Noborito. It's where the Doraemon Museum is, or the Doraemon Creator Museum is.
Mhm.
Um, and then a couple years later, I ended up like moving here without knowing,
Mhm.
or like it's like a town over Noborito, but I ended up like moving here. That's where I'm at now. But I'm like, wow, coincidence. Like
Yeah.
all the places I've gone on a spontaneous adventure to, I ended up like living there without any like awareness of it. So
Yeah, I think that's like quite interesting, especially with like, like the Japanese belief about like connections and like things like that. So I kind of wonder if, like, maybe because you had been connected to those places through your adventuring, that you like somehow ended up back there again.
Yeah. Coincidence.
Yeah. There's a lot of like kind of like, whoa, how did that happen stories. I think I've told you about the dollar bill story. I'm not sure I'm like repeating it properly, but I remember, like, I think it's a pretty famous story, or like I think you can, find it online. But I think there was a story about this person. I think it was a guy who he had like this dollar bill, and he wrote he wrote something on this dollar bill, and he said to somebody, and he was like, the person who ends up with this dollar bill is the person I'm going to marry. And then, so like, a long time passes by, and he starts dating this girl, and like, I don't know, they're like talking, and so, for some reason, she pulls out this dollar bill. Oh my god, I heard the creepy noise again. Is that? I think it's from my headphones. Eek! Creepy noise.
I didn't hear this time.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that? Is it moving? Oh, okay. I think it's the connection. Okay. Anyway, sorry. But so he's talking to this girl, and she pulls out the dollar bill that he had, like, just used at some point. And yeah, I think they did end up getting married. But probably should look into like the proper story. If you read it, it's like, ooh. And then there was this other one. There's like a Instagrammer that recently has been doing like a lot of Instagrams on kind of like interesting stories. And there was this girl who like wrote a letter to, like, she just like wrote a letter, and her grandpa encouraged her to like tie it to a balloon and like see if she would get a reply. And so she had like this certain name, right? And this balloon ended up landing in this guy's backyard. And he like found this letter, and he was like, I know, like, what is this? But he like knew a girl with like that same name, and it was like his neighbor. So he like took the letter over to her, and it turned out that this girl who had the same name as the girl who had sent the letter, they like both had like the same color hair and were like around the same age, like so many like similarities that it was like a little bit ridiculous. But so she writes to her, and they ended up becoming like lifelong, like really close friends. So I was like, oh wow, that's so interesting. Like what are the chances, right? It's like, oh, kind of a little bit spooky, but like kind of nice,
Yeah, like a doppelganger.
Yeah, like one that you become
Or
friends with.
doppelganger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there was like an app going around some time ago where like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, find your like doppelganger by uploading your face on this app, and
Oh,
like
really?
it'll like search its database for your identical half, or I
Whoa.
mean identical non-related genetically related twin.
Hmm. That's interesting, because usually doppelgangers have like a negative connotation, that it's like, because it's almost like a, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of almost like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation where like, but I mean, in the other story, it seemed like a nice, nice thing, but usually, like, doppelganger stories are kind of scary because, like, usually one of them's evil, right? Like, um,
Yeah.
but that's
True,
interesting. I
true,
wonder
true.
how many people have done it.
Yeah. Kind of interested. I might
Yeah,
want to try someday.
yeah, interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
Coincidences.
Yeah. If you guys have any interesting coincidency things that have happened in your life, feel free to tell us your story in the comments, or wherever you're listening to our podcast. Um, yeah, on our YouTube channel or wherever. But yeah, always interesting to hear
Yes.
these kinds of stories from people. Oh, and yeah, we're so I don't know. We used to make our podcasts like and kind of like rush them because we're like, oh well, we don't want to take up like too much of your guys' time, but like so it's hit like past the hour mark, and then recently we're like, oh well, we only make like an episode like once a year, so I guess we don't have to be in such a rush. So this might be kind of a longer podcast, you guys. So hope you guys don't mind.
Holy smokes, we have hit an hour. Whoa, that did not feel like an hour. It felt like 30
No.
minutes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it didn't
That
feel
is
like
crazy.
an hour. Yeah. Um. Anyway.
Damn. Next fall
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys other spooky, not spooky, mysterious stories some other time. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's transition into our uncomfy cove. A different meaning of fall.
Yes.
Have you had
fall
any?
of this year.
Yeah. Have you had any falls this year, Rin? Any uncomfy, not great things happen this year?
Falls this year?
Mm-hmm.
Not like a lot of notable ones.
Yeah,
Like
that's
there
good.
are like ongoing falls. You know?
Yeah?
There are ongoing falls. But it's not nothing new sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll hand the mic to you on this one.
All right. Yeah, so this year is quite big for me in terms of not great things happening. But a major one, which I think it's pretty interesting because I think it's like kind of like people's like our we're talking about fall as a season, but I think a lot of people have kind of different seasons of their life. Um and so I think everybody kind of goes through this season, but when you go through it is really just dependent on like what's going on and like who you know and all of these things. Um, but yeah, I think for me, like this year, um, someone very close to me, one of my relatives passed away. And I've had like people pass away in the past, right? But like when they're not as close to you, like, or that you don't like know them as well, it doesn't hit you as hard, right? So, but like when it's people who are closer or like, it kind of hits you a different way. And, and I think this is a topic that like most people don't like, they don't really talk about, death and dying. And like, even though it's like, yeah, we're all gonna die, right? Like, um, so I think it's a topic that we should talk more about, right? Because it's very in line with like how to live a good life and, how you want to be spending time with people, um, and things like this. So, yeah. Um, Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say about this?
I don't know. I've never really experienced like a close one passing away.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have been like people I didn't really get many chances to spend time with.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe because I always move around all the time.
Yeah.
I like not making the chance to do that like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but I do get that like when you do get the chance, you want to like try to spend that time, like that quality time with them, with people around you, as much as possible because your time on earth is finite. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
word?
Yeah, finite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think I always
Yeah.
have trouble like helping people go through like mourning, when they're like
Mm-hmm.
mourning. Because I don't really know what it's like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
I
best I
think
can
that.
do is like listen.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that's, that's still great, right? To have someone there is really important, and like listening, like someone, like, because I think a lot of people, they just need people to be there and like listen to them. And um I think, like, as I was like going through this, I was just like, oh shit, like I didn't, oh, do we swear on our podcast? Sorry. um
It's fine.
I I remember, like, one of my good friends, she had gone through this, right? And I remember thinking like, wow, I really didn't know what she was going through. Like cuz it's like you can't really know until you've had that experience, right? But even then, like we all don't have the same experience exactly, but it's just kind of like, oh wow. Okay, like I can understand a little bit better, right? Or like you're just like, oh crap, like this is, like that must have been like so much harder than I thought it was, right? Or like that than, than what I could handle or help with, right? But in the end, it's still like, it's just important that you're like there with people. Um, but I think one of the things that, when people pass away and like you kind of remember that like you yourself are like not, like you're not immortal, and like, we're all gonna die one day. I think it just helps you like remember that like the reason life is precious is because we die, right? um and so yeah, just like going through life and looking at like how you want to live your life and like reevaluating things. I think a lot of us kind of, or like people in general, kind of are just like in like these routines that they're very familiar with. And things like this break you out of that routine a lot, or like big life changing events. um yeah, and so just like really looking at like how you spend time with people and how you interact with people, and just like remembering, like, I don't know, I think if you think about it too much, it like can make you more sad about things, like um to know that the people around you aren't always gonna be there, and it's like, like try not to think about it too much. But I think it also helps you be more present, right? Or just like know, like we don't really know when like the last time we're gonna see someone is, or like when the last time we're gonna be able to talk with someone, or like what our last interaction with them will be. So it's just like try to value your time with people, and like treat people well when you can. Um and like for some things it's like, like some things just, they might seem a big deal like in the moment, but like when you think about it in your whole life, you're like, is this really a big deal? Like, do you really want to argue about this thing, right? Or like whatever it is that, I think a lot of us cause our own problems. So it's like, does this really need to be an issue? Thinking about stuff like that. um yeah. Fall. Oh, since I like to introduce books all the time, one of the books that I was like, oh yeah, this is a very interesting take on like life and stuff. It can be a little bit extreme, but there's this book called Die with Nothing, and it's this idea that the younger you are, the more like money you should be spending, because like especially on experiences and things like this, because you're going to like, supposedly as you get older you'll gain, like, you'll always make more money, supposedly. Like, this is not for everyone, right? But theoretically you'll make more money as you get older, so you should like instead of like saving all your money for retirement, you should like have as many experiences as you can when you're young. Because like as you get older, you're not going to enjoy those experiences as much as when you're younger. So like just like a different idea of like how you invest in yourself and like how you use money. And I was like, this is really interesting. Yeah. So interesting time of life right now. Yeah.
Use your savings for fun things to do while you're young. Or using part of it.
Yeah. Or like even, I mean, yeah, I think it's like it is good to have some savings, right? Like especially, you know, if you can, but I don't know, this book really advocates for being like, no, if you're young, like you should even be borrowing money. Like, and I was like, I don't know about that. But I think like with the idea that, you know, a lot of like just the average person, you know, saves up money for retirement, but then like if you ever had the chance to like actually take like a mini retirement and like just like have a year and like not be working, like what would you do with your time, right? And like would you even know what to do with your time? And you know, like what kind of meaning do you need in your life? Because like if you're just waiting till you're that old, I feel like, you know, you're probably gonna have like a second midlife crisis or something like that, right? Like so yeah. And then just also knowing that like tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone, right? So it's like, well, kind of YOLO, right? Like you kind of like, or not like actually YOLO, because you know. So if you have the chance to do something and you have like the chance to like go experience something, most of the time you won't regret having like gone and done that thing, right? So for anybody like kind of second guessing themselves on if they should, you know, go out to that whatever it is or whatever, like just like take the opportunities that come to you, because you know those things, like people are busy, like things don't always line up in like whatever ways. So if you see an experience in front of you and you like want to do it, like don't be afraid to like take that chance and just go do it, because we just never really know, right?
Yes. Enjoy all of your life, not just the end.
Mm-hmm.
Or the little bit of time you may get here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live by that.
Me too. Let's do what we can. When we take the chance, just take your chance and go do your thing.
Yeah. That was uncomfy Cove. Uncomfy Cove, but comforting at the end.
Yeah.
Another comforting thing is copium.
Yes. What is your copium? Oh, wait, hold on. Rin, please explain copium to people who do not know what that means.
That's right.
I didn't know
you
what that
boomers.
What is copium?
Copium is literally the combination of the two words cope and opium, because you know opium is like a addictive drug, you know. Mm-hmm. So and it like helps. It's used to help ease like certain like pains or discomfort or emotional discomfort, you know, things like that. So we young people call those things copium, and it doesn't have to necessarily be related to drugs. It can be anything that makes you feel better when you're feeling down or when you're not feeling so hot, you know. For me, my copiums, binge watching, like literally like, you know, turn off brain, and just let something take you on a ride. I've been binge watching The Big Bang Theory because I watched like a bit of Young Sheldon, and I've always
Mm-hmm.
been interested in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I saw on my YouTube Shorts feed a clip of like, okay, spoilers for Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Click away or like skip this part if you don't want to hear spoilers. But anyway, I saw this YouTube short clip of the main character Sheldon like happily getting married to a girl and even like showing physical affection, like kissing, like willingly. And if you know the Big Bang Theory, or like if you know Young Sheldon, you know that character like this proves of anything related to like, you know, sexual things or like romantic things. Actually, maybe in Young Sheldon there was like an episode about Sheldon having a crush on somebody. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember, but like yeah, I've heard like other comments of fans saying like, "Oh, Young Sheldon doesn't follow the main like, you know, settings of like the Big Bang Theory or whatever."
Uh, it's not part of
Um,
the lore
but
as it
anyway,
should be. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Like it's not like going along with the lore, blah blah blah. But I don't care. I don't care. I just want to know how like a person like Sheldon like goes through like character development to the point that he becomes okay, or he
Mm.
happily and willingly wants to like engage in a romantic relationship like the way he did in that one YouTube shorts clip.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I just wanted to know how that happened. So I've been binge watching, and that series is like 12 seasons long. So
Whoa. That is long.
yeah, I'm
Holy
on
cow.
a long binging
It's like
train.
long binge. Cool.
Yeah, but the episodes are pretty short actually. Sometimes it's
Oh.
under 20 minutes.
Oh wow. Cool. I still need to watch it, so
Yeah, that's one of my copium.
nice.
Um, where was it? Was yours?
I like binge watching stuff also. But let's
Go
see.
to.
My latest recommendation, or the last thing I binge watched on Netflix, is not 12 seasons long. It was only, I think it was only 6 episodes actually. Or maybe, wait, it's like a short series. It was 6 or 12 episodes. Okay, I know those are very different numbers, but kind of short, very short series for people who like romantic comedy. It's called Nobody Wants This. And it's actually about these two sisters that podcast or have a podcast and they talk about love. But it also has these moments where it like teaches you about like the Jewish tradition and like because the love interest is Jewish and like but it's just really cute and like really funny and you really want to see what happens to these characters. And yeah, so that's my recommendation if you're looking for something to binge watch. Um, what other copiums do you have, Rin?
Um, away from humanity, hermit mode, isolation. Oh, the love for solitude. My love for solitude.
It
I
reminds
think
me of that
like
forest with the house in the middle. I think I've sent it to you before.
yes, literally. That's what I want. Just kidding. That's what I want sometimes. Um, I think like for people who like know me, I think
Mhm.
most people underestimate how like introverted I am. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can act like not introverted, or I
Yeah.
can act in ways that may seem like I'm just like a normal level introvert, but no.
Yeah, it's actually even
Ooh.
more. deep.
Yeah, my social battery is very, very small. So when I'm overwhelmed or like when I'm not having a good time with life, I just like to step away and not talk to anybody or like, step away from my social circles. That's what I do most of the time. And I really, really, really love just going on spontaneous long walks for like, I don't know, 5+ kilometers, sometime 10,
Oh, wow.
sometime 20, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love going on walks and just like exploring.
Yeah, that's nice. I think it's really important. Like, especially, they say like exercise like can really help get you out of ruts and stuff too, right?
Yeah, exercise does help a lot.
Yeah. Awesome.
Science proves it.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Exercise. Um, but if anybody's like hikikomori and like doesn't go outside, maybe, yeah. I think one of my copiums, especially if like you feel very housebound, is cooking or like trying to make a new recipe or like make something out of like whatever it is that you have. Like try to be creative and like scour around like what do you have already and what can you make out of that thing. Because I think it gives you like kind of like this sense of accomplishment, like, oh, I actually did something today, like if you're really really like deep in the trying to pull yourself out of whatever it is. I think that helps, but I don't know, I think there's like everybody I think needs something different, so I don't know, if you can take the time, take the time, but if you need to reach out and ask for help, like do that too, like do what you feel needs to be done. But like, yeah, if you've ever been deep in the not being able to do stuff, like it can be hard, but it's like, baby steps and, do whatever it is that you can to get into semi-functioning mode in whatever ways that is. And if that's needing to binge watch forever, or not forever, but like for a while, like do that, like, but then, use your copiums and then get back up to the point of functioning properly.
Just go at your own pace.
Mm-hmm.
Don't force things.
Yeah,
I tried forcing and it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean there's sometimes where you gotta do what you gotta do, but in the times that you can take things slow and just like try not to stress about stuff, like do that too if you can.
Yeah. Speaking of going at your own pace, I have a quote.
Yes.
I found this quote on the message board at a random shrine in my neighborhood, and it said in Japanese, 亀は亀のままでいい。うさぎにならなくていいのだよ. Which translates to, it's okay for a turtle to stay a turtle. It doesn't have to become a hare. It was kind of like, a quote based on the turtle and the hare. I don't know. What's the title of the story?
Yeah.
The hare and the turtle. The turtle and the hare. The tortoise and the hare. Yeah, and I thought that was sweet. I was like, oh, I feel like it was speaking to me. Specifically. Just saying, go at your own pace.
Yeah,
like
people
our podcasts.
Yeah. And people who know us, like, we take things very slowly. Like, I'm a slow eater. Like, you just do things very slowly. But I mean, nature is slow as well, right? Like, so it's kind of like, I don't know, the rate at which society moves is like a little too, like, whoa. Like, it's awesome that it can go that fast, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, like, we don't always need to go that fast, you know?
Not for me. It burns me out too fast. The society speed. I've tried, but I'll stay a turtle.
Yeah, me too. And I like in the Japanese it says like no da yo, and it's like a very like nice soft way of saying like, it's okay. You don't have to, become this thing in like a very like cute, encouraging way. So yeah. Be yourself. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Our hashtag slow content movement.
Yeah, slow content. That's where we are. You guys can tell. Thanks for being interested in our podcast and listening to us whenever we put out a new podcast.
Hashtag slow content movement. Hashtag nostalgia in a nutshell.
Yep. That's us.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
We're hitting the 1 hour and a half mark.
Yeah, it was a good time to wrap up this episode.
Yeah, our fall episode. It's getting cold. Stay warm, stay cozy, drink hot cocoa, drink all the festive holiday winter season beverages, eggnog, what else? Peppermint, cocoa, I don't know.
Hot lemonade. Ooh, yum.
Yes,
that's what I've been making.
The warm, comfy beverages.
Comfy things. Yeah. If you're on this side of the hemisphere, and if you're not, do all the opposite things. But,
true. Yes.
Yeah. We have, as of recording, we have 1 more month left in the year. So hope you guys have a great end of 2024, and we'll catch you in 2025, hopefully.
Yeah. Stay comfy.
Comfy. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.